Hey everybody, today I want to talk to you about what might be a missing piece if you have shoulder issues, elbow issues, carpal tunnel, hand and wrist issues, basically any other arm issue, upper back, neck issues. I think I already said shoulder, but really anywhere in the shoulder, front of shoulder, back of shoulder, rotator cuff, frozen shoulder, all that stuff. For any of these issues, I want to talk to you today about a muscle that may be a missing piece for you. It's the pec minor. Notice I said minor, not the pec major, which we're all a little bit more aware of. It's closer to the surface. It's nearer to the skin. It's more superficial than the pec minor, easier to access. But today we're going to talk about the pec minor. So it is underneath the pec major. So I'm going to give you a little brief anatomy lesson. I'm going to try to keep this whole thing kind of brief. I'm going to share my screen and show you on Anatomy U, the pec minor, and then I'm going to show you on Skelly, and I'm going to show you on me. And I really have been kind of tripping out on this muscle lately because it kind of affects so many things that one person comes to me for carpal tunnel, the other person for tennis elbow, another person for back issues, and pec minor helps all of it. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. I want you to see in Anatomy U, our wonderful Anatomy U tool that we use to teach the teacher training, and I also use just in general classes and in one-to-one sessions. It allows us to see three-dimensionally the entire body in various levels and depths. We can see superficial muscles, we can see more intrinsic muscles. So today we're focusing on that pec minor. Real quick, I want to show you the pec major so that you can kind of compare the two. So the pec major is a very straightforward muscle. It's basically like two squares or two rectangles on either side of your sternum. Kind of takes up these quadrants here, and it's taking a minute to load, but you'll see it's the yellow. So let me hide the ball here because we don't need to see that right now for our purposes. So this yellow is the pec major, and it's kind of what most of us refer to when we're talking about the pecs. And as you can see, it kind of covers the entire upper quadrant of the chest, and it inserts at the arm. Now, for the pec minor, that's underneath the pec major. So in order to access it, you must first penetrate through the fibers of the pec major to get to the pec minor. So when you see it here pop up on Anatomy U, I'm actually going to have to dissect the model because it's not going to show us the pec minor, which is under. So here it's blue because this is the pec major in blue because we're not focusing on that one. We're going to try to hide this muscle and get underneath it. There it is. Look at the pec minor. So it's very different. I'll leave the pec major up over here so you can see the difference. This one's on the surface, much bigger, lots of fibers going horizontally. This is a completely different situation underneath of it here. We have three origin points. If you can see these three red dots, these are your ribs. The three origin points of the pec minor start on these three upper ribs. And then as you can see, they all conjoin and insert. What is this? This is the part that really blows my mind. So let me hide some of these other bigger muscles so that we can really see what we're looking at here. But maybe it'll blow your mind too. So where does the pec minor insert? Well, it's not the arm, because look, here's the arm. Right about here where my cursor is about where the pec major inserts. But we're looking at the pec minor. What is this thing? Well, let's move our model around. Oh, look at that. It's an interesting little hook shape. Let's keep moving this model and see what is this bony process that the pec minor attaches to. Holy smokes, it's the shoulder blade. The pec minor attaches on the front of your body to your shoulder blade. That's right. You can access your shoulder blade from the front of your body. This little piece of bone here, this little hook is called the coracoid process. And it sticks, it's actually in the front of your body. So you can find this on yourself. Here, let me show you on Skelly first. And then I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Show you on Skelly first and then on an actual human. Okay, so here is the scap. What we think of as the shoulder blade is back here, right? Well, guess what? It actually comes around. You can see it from the top. This little piece kind of weaves under. Here's your collarbone. This is your clavicle here. So your shoulder blade slides under your clavicle and pokes out the front just below your clavicle. Isn't that adorable? So you can touch your shoulder blade in the front if you look for the spot between the top of your humerus head here, the top of the arm bone, and your collarbone. It's going to be in this little hollow between those 2 points. Guess what? When you work the muscle at this insertion point and loosen it up all the way from each of these ribs that it originates from and then attaches here, when you loosen that, it's going to loosen your whole shoulder blade behind you. And what's that going to mean? Freedom in the back, freedom in the side ribs, freedom really in all of the ribs. Once this is loose, it's no longer pulling the shoulder blade up and bunching it up into the top of the shoulder, which allows the arm to just freely hang from the shoulder joint. So it's not getting all crunched and bunched. And now, just spilled my coffee. Now you can freely extend that arm and move all the way from the shoulder through the elbow down into the wrist without pain or restriction. So this is definitely a missing piece. So here's where you can kind of find it for yourself. So here's your collarbone, here's my collarbone, and you'll find your collarbone on yourself. So you kind of feel that protruding bone sticking out, and then you find your humerus head. So it's helpful if you wear like a short sleeve shirt or a tank top, you can feel for that humerus head, and you'll know it's there because you can move your arm and you can feel it moving. So there's my humerus head, here's my collarbone. So here's this no man's land space in the middle. What's happening here? That is the hole where the coracoid process sticks through. So if you take your finger into that little hollow, again, between collarbone and humerus head, you take your finger and stick it in there, move your arm around a little bit, maybe kind of bob your head around, you're going to feel a little, probably a little tender, maybe a little sore. It's an area that doesn't get much attention. So it's not going to feel probably warm and fuzzy when you first hit it, but it's probably going to feel like a wake-up call, like, wow, there's something there to notice. So I'm telling you all of this because I think it's really important, to sometimes think outside the box or kind of widen the lens a little bit when we have shoulder issues or any arm issues. It's really easy to get stuck in that mindset of like, okay, I'm going to just work localized at the shoulder, or, oh, my arm hurts, I'm just going to roll down my arm. Those aren't bad things. And those are also beneficial for the issue that you have. In fact, those might be kind of the first step. But if that doesn't give you full relief, or if you get a little bit and the issue comes back, or if you start to plateau, you want to look bigger. You want to zoom out a little bit, widen the lens, and start looking more at, other muscles that might be related to it, not so much on the surface, the ones that you think of first, but stuff that's more intrinsic, a little deeper, and kind of weaves everything together. So if you are tripping out on this coracoid process thing like I am, and just blown away by the fact that you can access your shoulder blade from the front, let me know your thoughts on that. And if you want to go on a deeper dive into this, I'm here.